is a condition in which a person constantly experiences anxiety and sees threats where none exist. Paranoia can arise for various reasons, such as severe stress or trauma. However, paranoia isn't just fear. It's often accompanied by aggressive reactions, and this can lead to irreversible consequences. Hi everyone, that's Black here, and welcome back to my game corner! Today we'll dive into paranoia, explore the origins of anxiety and obsessive thoughts, and why we're so very. We're reviewing Late Night TV Rerun. Get comfortable and grab a snack. The video promises to be interesting. The creator of the game is Goose Stranger. This horror adventure game released on itch.io and is a remaster of an earlier game from the same developer. However, I won't be reviewing the older version. Instead, I'll focus on the new one. There's practically nothing to recap here, so we'll dive into the paranoia along with the main character. I also strongly recommend you to play through the game yourself before watching this video. It only takes about half an hour and will immerse you into the right atmosphere, especially since the game is free. So, it all begins on Monday evening. The exhausting workday is finally over, time for a snack and a favorite show on TV. A typical evening to start the work week. The show we're watching is called The Amazing World of Albert and is a simple multi-episode series about a guy named, well, Albert. In the first episode we have to make a cake. It's basically just gathering all the ingredients on the list. Eggs, flour, sugar, and milk. At first everything goes fairly smoothly. We pick up eggs and milk, but when we go to get sugar, we encounter a strange man handing over a suspicious package. This is where the first red flags begin. In this location, we can find a key that will open the barn, where we'll find a dead girl. Albert's show in its style and secrets with horror elements reminds me of Andy's Apple Farm, which I reviewed a while back. The music stops at every one of these moments, including here in the barn, creating tension, especially considering the music had been quite sweet and friendly up until then. The show then cuts to a news report, which is in a highly unprofessional manner reports on a missing girl. This alarms the protagonist and, in fact, should alarm the player as well. Now, before going to bed, we will have to check all the windows in case of danger, turn off the lights in the house, and only then go to bed. This is how each subsequent day in this game will proceed, with only minor changes that I'll point out. Otherwise, the home routine will remain the same, unlike Albert's show. On Tuesday, our mom calls us, saying she's just worried about us because of the disappearances and the alarming situation. She seems to be in a very good mood and living her best life. She also says she trimmed the bush near the house to make it look like a bunny. Remember that detail, it'll be important later. In today's show, Albert is trying to find a friend while helping various characters. If you follow one of them, you'll discover an empty grave. It belongs to a girl who was reported missing, according to yesterday's news report. Solving the find, bring, deliver chain will lead to a new location, where Albert meets a friend who invites him to the park in the middle of the night. Because why not? And Albert agrees. Again, why not? I don't see anything suspicious at all. After this, the broadcast comes back again, reporting that more and more people are going missing, and several have been found dead. The situation is escalating, but no one seems to be taking it seriously. While checking the windows, we spot a deer in one of them. Honestly, looking out of the window, I still can't figure out what kind of goddamn wilderness we live in. However, that's not as important as the fact that the door to our house is open. This is alarming because there was no sound of the door opening, and after all, there's no one in the house. But someone had to open it, right? The next day, Wednesday, we visit Cornwood Park in Albert's show. The park is closed, so we have to climb over the fence using chairs, after which our new friend suggests to play the kind of tag. The goal is to ring all the bells before they catch us. A fun game for such a dark night, don't you think? Actually, we really did have fun, I think. Our friend even suggests playing Catch It next time. The fun is cut short by another news report. All dead people were found in the forest. Authorities are urging caution when walking in the forest and advising against walking alone. Checking the windows, we see the deer already dead. Poor animal. Suddenly, the lights in the room turn off by itself, and nothing else happens for that night. Thursday. This time on Albert's show, we'll be playing Catch It with our friend. After exploring the location, I discovered the noose. Remarkably, it was empty. However, there was no context for it, so I had to go play Catch It. Everything was fine, we were just running back and forth, passing the ball, but at some point, Albert throws the ball at his friend, who falls over dead. The disappearances situation has spiraled out of control. You can't trust anyone anymore. Danger and enemies are all around. Authorities are recommending people to lock themselves in their homes and not leave at all. It's raining outside. A little fawn has come to visit a dead deer. The TV malfunctioned. We turn it off and go to bed. Last night, Friday. Albert's show has completely changed. Albert is nowhere to be seen in the opening credits, but when the episode begins, we see a painfully familiar house with a bunny-shaped bush. Our mother's house. We can grab a shovel from a nearby shed. We'll need it to dig a grave and lay our friend in it. If we go into our mother's house, we will hear a loud, hysterical scream, and then we will go to the neighboring house and... knock knock. As soon as Albert approaches the door in the show, someone starts knocking insistently on our door. It's definitely a maniac. We're done for. The protagonist takes a gun and, without a second thought, shoots at the door. Only then does he find strength to open it. On the front path lies the body of a woman, her head smeared all over the stone. And the protagonist squeezes out only one word. Mom? So, there are all the events that we can observe in the game. Of course, it seems to me that the game has two plots. The main one, which we've already covered pretty much, and the subplot, let's call it that, which takes place in Albert's show and can be interpreted in various ways. To better understand what's happening, we first need, as absurd as it may sound, to dive into the game's ending. If I were the protagonist, I'd do something different. I'd probably just hug the gun and wait for the maniac to come in. If they really want to get in here, they'll find a way, and if not, then maybe it's not them at all. However, that's my take on the panicked situation. You can tell me what you'd do in the comments, by the way. Some of you will say that the protagonist's actions are illogical, as he had many other options than just shooting through the door. However, the key element here lies in the game's core concept, paranoia. Let's take a closer look at what it actually is. Paranoia isn't just anxiety and fear. I didn't quite tell you everything at the beginning of the video. Paranoia is a psychological disorder that typically results from trauma and is accompanied by a strong distrust of people and the environment, as well as outbursts of aggression. Often these are imaginary fears and obsessive thoughts, a suspicion that everything around you is dangerous, even when in fact it isn't. Thus, we understand that our protagonist probably has a deep trauma that still haunts him. As we progress, we learn some interesting information about the character's life and family. For example, his father was an alcoholic and neglected his child, and he likely assaulted his mother. However, Mother was our character's best and closest friend. She was literally his sunshine and the only truly good person in his life. As for Albert's show, I believe it could, on one hand, refer to some events in the past that concern the main character. He could probably witness a murder or something like that, or be simply a coincidence with a tense situation in reality. I like to think it's the second option, because it fits perfectly with the overall picture of paranoia. Consider this. Our protagonist has been traumatized since childhood by an abusive father and his parents' divorce. This could have triggered paranoia and mistrust, which ultimately leads to such horrific consequences. The anxiety initially triggered by the report about missing people, reinforced by coincidences between the show and reality which seemed to merge, caused a sharp, rash reaction, especially since in the show a scream was heard coming from our mother's house, which could mean she was probably dead. so the protagonist had no thought that it could have been her. For the player, anxiety is created in various ways. However, we, the player, have a context which the protagonist initially lacks. We know we're playing a horror game. Of course, we expect something to happen, something to go wrong, and the most telling wake-up call is the task about checking windows. Such a task is like a trigger for a huge gamer. If windows are supposed to be checked, something is bound to appear there. Typically, in this context, we start to get ourselves worked up, expecting a loud jump scare or some kind of a chase. However, that's the beauty of this game. There is not a single loud sound except perhaps a gunshot. On the contrary, the game plays out all the terrifying moments very quietly. The deer's appearance, its death, and the appearing fawn are not accompanied by any unnecessary sounds at all. During creepy moments, the ambient music often simply fades out. Visual aspects are also present. The graphics alone are remarkable, made on one hand from stitched together photos, while on the other they look comical in places. Speaking of comical, by the way, the game repeatedly interrupts seemingly serious news with absurd nonsense. This adds a special touch to the situation, as the protagonist and the player essentially spend the entire game scaring themselves, imagining the danger, making it seem even more serious than it actually is. The perfectly placed triggers, an unexpected ending, and excellent tension buildup allows you to feel the same paranoia that our protagonist experiences. That's what I loved about this game. It even evoked some pretty strong emotions in me with its ending, especially after realizing what I've done and the irreversibility of it. If you want to support me with more than just liking and subscribing, consider checking out the link in the description. There you can donate any sum of money starting from $1. Any donation is appreciated. Thank you in advance. I hope you found this game, like this video, interesting and informative. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if this is your first time here. We have a lot of interesting stuff here. Also, let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments. I and everyone else will be interested to read them. And that's all for now. Have a nice one. Bye!